Hey everyone, welcome to the Breaking Point YouTube channel. If you're liking the videos, hit that subscribe button. Now let's get to the hunting action.
This is the story of Mac. The story of Mac starts back in the season of 2022 when I was primarily hunting a deer that I was calling Future. And we put in a lot of time for that deer and ultimately ended up harvesting him. For about the last hour, we've had Future out in the field here. That's beautiful. You might go in. Ready? Yep. Well, the story of Future is over. A really short hunt and a short gun season for me and Elliott, and I couldn't be happier. Throughout all of those hunts for him, we had multiple encounters with this 3-year-old 8-pointer who little did we know was going to become a much larger part of our plans in the upcoming years. In that 2022 seasons, I remember multiple encounters, really cool encounters with this deer that we ended up calling Mac. He was a nice, low-framed, wider 8-pointer. And there was one morning in the dry ponds, I remember specifically, that it was a really great hunt. We were seeing a ton of deer that morning, a couple of really nice ones, never the deer that we were after that year, but this 3-year-old 8-pointer came in and bedded down 30 yards in front of Shellpfeffer and I, and was just looking right up at us, and it was a really cool encounter. And going throughout that rutcation, we had multiple other encounters with him where he'd be right under us, chasing does, running all over, you know, like a typical 3-year-old deer would do. And as the 2022 season progressed, you know, I ended up harvesting Future, but during gun season, but we were out later in the year sitting over some of our standing crops, and we had a couple encounters with him where he'd come out and just be feeding in the standing beans or whatever, and he was really a core deer in the season of 2022. Rolling into 2023, the neighbor found his match set, and you know, it was about what we expected him to be. And then going into the summer of 2023, this really wide-framed 10-pointer started showing up in velvet. And, you know, it took a little bit of time to figure out exactly what deer it was, but after, you know, examining the trail camera pictures for a lengthy period of time, for maybe a couple weeks, I finally did figure out that it was that wide-framed 8-pointer that we had so many encounters with the previous season. And he had taken a huge jump. Setting out into velvet season, velvet scouting of 2023, we did have a really awesome encounter with him, and he just was even more impressive in person than I thought he was going to be. But I knew he was only a 4-year-old, and we were trying to target 5-year-olds at this point. Mac showed up right away as soon as I was done with that interview. That was awesome, and he worked from probably, I don't know how far that is, maybe 300, 400 yards, right down here to the end of the point, and worked that little licking branch. That was awesome. He just put on an awesome show. We had a couple of good deer on the farm in 2023, 2 4-year-olds, one being Mac, and one other one that ultimately got harvested by the neighbor that we called Crowns. But there was one 5-year-old in the 2023 season that Shellpfeffer and I ended up targeting, and he harvested, and that was a buck that we called Saggy. But throughout all of our hunts for Saggy, and me primarily being behind the lens for Shellpfeffer, we had a lot of great encounters with a 4-year-old Mac.
It's November 2nd this morning, and Elliott and I got back in the same tree we were in last night. A spot we call the Mud Hole. The woods is alive this morning already. Seen multiple bucks already, 2 or 3 for sure. One of them we weren't sure what deer it was, but it looked like a pretty good deer. is right now. It's been so long since I've checked my phone. We've been absolutely covered in deer since we got in the tree. It's been impossible to even count the amount of deer, even bucks that we've seen. They've just been chasing and running everywhere. I'm sure we've seen the same bucks countless times, but we know for sure that we've had 3 bucks that are at least 4, and the 1 5.5-year-old shooter within 75 yards of the tree this morning. So 2 of the bucks, it's the first time that I've seen him on the hoof. The 1 buck that we call Mac is a super nice 4-year-old, and another buck that we call Curls.
What we kind of realized was his core was shrinking even more, and it seems like on this particular property, as the deer age and they become the more dominant buck in the area, their core really shrinks down to one specific area. It's the best bedding area on the whole place, and as they get to that 4 or 5-year-old age, their entire life seems to kind of revolve around this one little area. And he was beginning to fall into place with that. Now that Future and Saggy were both out of the picture, he was condensing his entire core area down to this one little spot. And we had a ton of fun getting a bunch of video of him throughout the 2023 season, but just kind of crossing our fingers that he was going to make it to 2024. And ultimately he did. But after gun season, we honestly just didn't go out much. We left the pressure off the deer, hoping that they would kind of stay in there and they would make it through. I was tagged out in Iowa, and Shelfever was tagged out here in Wisconsin, so we opted to essentially sit back and relax and, you know, leave them for the upcoming year of 2024. Going into 2024, I knew that Mac was going to be probably my primary target. I set out a bunch of cameras primarily just looking for Mac, and he was extremely visible in the summer on camera. I went out multiple times trying to get velvet footage of him, and for whatever reason, I just couldn't have a run-in with him during velvet season. But come early September, I was still going out, and we have some low impact areas that we can perch up on and kind of look for deer in our food plots. And early September, before the opener, I did get some footage of him out in what we called the berm field. So I had pretty much a game plan set for 2024. I figured that his core area was going to condense down even further around that primary bedding area that I knew he was using. And the 2024 season, coming into September, it was extremely dry. It was kind of a struggle to get food plots to grow. The deer, our beans couldn't grow fast enough, so the deer essentially had those mowed down. We went in and broadcasted Domain's Big Sexy Brassica into our, in between our beans, and we had a bunch of good green plots for early October.
Well, it's the afternoon of September 22nd, and it is the first sit for me of the 2024 season here in Wisconsin. Hunter and I are set up in the 3-acre field tonight, going after the buck that I call Mac. He's been super consistent early season here, and I would have liked to have gone out after him opening weekend. The first 2 weeks of September, he was hitting this big sexy green plot behind me here, like every day. And I just got back from a 9-day hunt in Colorado that we were pretty successful. So pretty jacked to be in the whitetail stand going after Mac.
It was so dry, but with those greens that it still produced, he was still hitting our food plots consistently in early October. But a couple years ago, I had dug a water hole for that deer future primarily, and it had become a local hotspot for just about every deer that I had on camera come late September to early October, as dry as it was. And I was kind of picking whether I wanted to sit on the food or sit on the water hole. There was a hunt in late September where Shellpfeffer and I were on the 3-acre field where he was daylighting a lot, and you know, he had showed up on the water hole. So it was really just a cat and mouse game on where he was going to show up that night. He was going between the Big Woods water hole and the 3-acre field, and it was really almost like a 50% chance on where he was going to show up.
Well, it's the afternoon of October 5th, and Elliott and I are set up in the 3-acre blind tonight. We had time, so we decided to go out and give it a shot tonight, even though conditions are not ideal for really mature buck movement. It's 75 today with 30 to 40 mile an hour winds. Maybe not quite, 20 to 30. But we had time, so we're gonna give it a shot. We got Blaze Orange on. It's the youth hunt here in Wisconsin. Mac's been really consistent on camera all over the place. I think the next couple of days will probably be a better chance to get him, but we're out here giving it a shot, playing it safe in this blind tonight, but we'll see what comes out. We have a winner.
I love it when they do that.
Oh, they're really going. Look at them.
I love it when they do that, like sidewalk. Like
Yeah,
that.
me too.
That's freaking awesome. Yeah. Decent.
Oh, yeah, that's not bad. Best one we've seen. Nice 3-year-old 9-pointer.
What's going on, everybody? Hope you're enjoying this week's content on the show. If you haven't already, check out our YouTube membership called the TBP Club. It allows you early access to all of our YouTube videos. It allows you access to our members-only live Q&As, which is once a quarter. And it allows full access to our Rut Live Grand Prize giveaway. If you haven't already, check out the TBP Club.
As consistent and daylight active as he was, I knew it was only a matter of time in 2024 that we were going to catch up to him. And on the afternoon of October 7th, Rand and I moved in on the water hole, and he was the first deer in.
You good there? Well, it's the afternoon of October 7th, and Rand and I just got set up over the Big Woods water hole. The reason we picked to come here tonight is we got a big cold front moving in. It's about a high of 65 today and a low of 35 tonight. It's kind of a tough spot to get into, but Mac daylighted here on Saturday night, and I think there's a good chance that he's going to do it again. He's really been kind of running this whole area here to the west side of the property. He was on a camera to the north up by the 3-acre field, and it was really a toss-up on which spot we should go to tonight, but considering he's been here in daylight a couple times within the last month, I think we've got a pretty good shot. There's been a lot of activity on this water hole. It hasn't rained in like a month, so I think it's probably the best water source around for him. With any luck, he's going to show up here, and our visibility is limited with all the leaves on the trees, but they're going to be right on top of us when they come in.
And he came in and was under us for about 10 minutes and honestly surprised us. It was so hard to see him coming because all the foliage on the trees yet. But eventually another buck came in from the south and got a drink at the water hole, and it brought him right in, and I made a very marginal shot, unfortunately.
I didn't see where they were holding it, but I had him back in low. It was definitely back. Shit. He's gonna die. All of a sudden, he was like right there. Because I could hear them coming from down there. Like, he's right here. I'm like, shh. Where? He caught me totally off guard. Like, I just looked at him like, holy shit, he's right here. And he like caught me so off guard. I jumped up and I'm like, dude, he's right here. And I'm like, oh, I have to sit to shoot. And I snuck it through. It probably was a little forced. I had some time, but it's supposed to be cold tonight. We're gonna probably try and get out of here, look at the footage on the computer, make a game plan. It's supposed to be nice and cold tonight if we feel like leaving him overnight, but he's not far. I think he's probably only bedded just out of sight from up here, so we're gonna have to be really careful when we get down, but we got an arrow in Mac, baby. Thanks for coming, buddy. Let's go. Huge. Now we just gotta find him. We gotta find him.
Well, we're back to the house here about 2 hours after the shot, and we looked at the shot on the computer. It pretty much looks exactly how we thought. It's definitely a little back, but might have caught the liver, but pretty much the arrow said all guts. There's a lot of gut material, but he was 1/4-2, so the exit probably picked up a lot of guts. We've got a friend with a thermal drone. We're gonna have him come down and see if he can locate the deer. See what happens.
So there's something right there.
2 deer right there.
You're exhausting yourself already, and we didn't even start.
Well, it's about 10:15 the night after we shot him. It's been 29 hours. Just got done with the dog. Dog found a couple beds that we didn't and went in a general direction, but we never ran into the deer. I think we ended up finding like 8 to 10 beds. Very little blood, but story of Mac's not over. Hope we can close it up tomorrow with a little grid search, get lucky, and you know, we'll go from there. But yeah, things are looking pretty grim right now, so. It's funny how heat in the wood will hold that. Well, it is now about a little over 60 hours probably from the shot. I'm gonna probably walk the next couple days, just some high probability areas, hoping to come up on Mac here, but yeah, I've kind of exhausted all options, so all I can do now is pretty much grid search the whole thing. The good news is it's a pretty easy property to grid search, so I mean, there's thick areas, but most of it's wide open understory, so we should be able to see a 250-pound deer, I hope. But he's probably, if I had to guess, eaten a little bit, but maybe not. Hopefully not. Hopefully we can find him. But yeah, I'm gonna take a walk in here. Hopefully he's laying there. We'll see.
Oh my God! He's in the corn.
Thanks to the vultures, baby, we found him.
unfortunately, 3 days late, the dog was on him. He wanted to go in here, but he lost it, and we found him. I don't know how the drone didn't pick him up in here, unless he was too cold already. But we got him.
Ultimately, after a long track job and a lot of effort, we did find him, and I couldn't be happier to have found him. You know, it's unfortunate that it was a couple days later and I couldn't make a better shot on him, but the story of Mac finally came to a close for me. You know, he was an extremely patternable deer in 2024, and that's what ultimately led, you know, to being successful on him so early. It was so dry that these deer had to hit that water before they went out to the food. And, you know, that early October, if it's dry and you've got a water source, it can just be extremely deadly. And we capitalized on it, and you know, it was a long journey to him, and really it just shows what these deer can turn into. You never know. He went from probably 100-inch 8-pointer as a 3-year-old into a 140-inch 8-pointer as a 4-year-old, and he frame-wise took a large jump from 2023 to 2024, and he just lost a little bit on those G4s, but ultimately just a great deer. And it's so fun when you can get this history with these deer, and you know, I'm just extremely grateful to have the opportunity to document these deer throughout the years. And I know there's a lot of people that were, you know, excited to try and get a crack at him too, and I'm just extremely thankful that, you know, I was presented the opportunity and, you know, capitalized when I could. So that's the story of Mac, and I hope you guys enjoyed it, and all I can say is I hope that our hard work continues to pay off, and thanks for watching.